My name's Adelle Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, I know, this is a bit of a surprise. I don't know if I'm making this a habit of giving you 2 Legally Clueless podcast episodes in a week, but here's where we're at this week. Episode 319 is here, you know? However, I do have to give you a heads up. Part 2 of Njeri's story, which I know you are really anticipating, is going to be coming out as usual on Monday. And this is what you can expect from part 2.
So about that girl, she told me she wanted us to meet. And I told her, okay, where do you want to meet? Then she told me we meet at Nakumat Mega. It was those days of Nakumat. So I went. Basically, she just wanted to tell me that she's sorry for breaking up my marriage, but she really loves David so much that their love is the kind of love that you can't not have. Meaning, she couldn't stop it. It was just too much. And she told me how he's so faithful to her. There's no other woman in their life. She loves him. She has been introduced to all their families and everything. And they're getting married. I told her, yeah, my divorce is actually being finalized. So you guys will be free to get married anytime. So up to now, they have not moved in together. Now he's asking me to come back.
So make sure you subscribe to the podcast channel on whatever podcast streaming app you're listening to this on so that you do not miss out on our regular programming on Monday that is going to have part 2 of Njeri's story. Now, the reason I am dropping in unannounced for a second time in this week is to introduce you to someone super inspiring and insightful who is doing something incredible for you and I. I am very clear that this year I want to help you meet your best self. I want to help African women be their fullest, most mannerless, most shameless, most successful selves. And one of the things that means is that I have to help you get your career on track. I have to help you unlock your career success because I know it's possible, but perhaps the right conversations are not being had and perhaps you're not being connected to the right resources. And so this month, on the 26th of April, we have our second wellness talk of 2025. And it's completely geared to helping you unlock your career success. Some of the things we're going to be looking at are your mindset. Could your mindset be limiting your career? We're going to help you set tangible and trackable career goals. If you are trying to pivot in your career, either move from one industry to another, one department to another, one company to another, we're going to help you plan that. We're going to help you with application and interview strategies that work. And finally, we're going to be looking at growth strategies for your current job. How do we make sure where you are now that you're enjoying it? Yes. But how can you grow? How can you move on up and be that corporate buddy that we know you can be? And our speaker is someone who I have all the confidence is able to tackle all this. You may know her as the career whisperer. Her full names are Ngashian Gibendi. She has taken the wealth of knowledge she's learned through building her career and started the Career Whisperer, where she not only helps employers hire. So she has actually been in rooms with employers and knows what they're looking for, knows what works, knows what weaknesses she sees. But she also coaches African women on how to unlock their career success. She does masterclasses, private coaching sessions, and she's going to be giving us all that and more on the 26th of April for only 1,000 bob. This wellness talk is virtual, so wherever you are in the world, you can jump in. It's going to be at 10 a.m. East African time. And I had to break our rule of giving you one Legally Clueless podcast episode of the week because I just had this great conversation with the career whisperer, and I wanted you to meet her. So you listen to her, you'll get to know her, and then you'll buy your tickets to come for the wellness talk, and you will share about this wellness talk with all the women in your life who you think could get some value, who you think or who you want to see unlock their career success. That's why I dropped by. So get to know the Career Whisperer, and then in the show notes, there's a link for you to grab your tickets. They're available on Hustle Sasa and on our website. All right, let's get to know the Career Whisperer. I am so excited to be doing this again. This year, we are doing pretty well with our wellness talks, bringing you African experts who are going to help you with your mental, financial, and physical wellness. And on the 26th of April, we have an incredible wellness talk lined up that's going to help you unlock your career success and so much more. I'm so excited to meet our speaker for that wellness talk because I think all her names are incredible. Her work name and just even the name on the ID. If you send her M-Pesa, the name that will come up. Her name is Igashian Gibendi. Did I pronounce it right?
Almost.
Okay.
Ingashian
Gibendi.
Gibendi. Yeah.
Ingashian. And listen, our community has to hear this. What does that mean?
We don't know the meaning. I was named after my great grandmother.
Yeah.
She didn't know the meaning.
Yeah.
And she passed away before she found out the meaning. And so now we are stuck. But we are all naming our kids in that field.
Are there more?
There are more funny.
You know, what needs to happen now is that you just need to attach a meaning to
Yeah,
it,
we need to
right?
write one.
Ingashan. Did I say it right
Perfect.
now? Okay. Because it's so important to get people's names right. But otherwise known as the career whisperer, which I think is also a fantastic name as well.
Thank you.
And we're going to get to that. But first, let's just start from the beginning. Tell us a bit about your family life. So what we know already is we have this name from your grandmother, great grandmother. We don't have a meaning, but we have more of this name in your family.
I grew up all over the place in Kenya, though.
Okay.
My mom moved around a lot with her job. I grew up the first half of my childhood was just me, my mom, and my sister. And she lived in Nairobi for a bit, in Eldoret for a bit, in Kisumu for a bit, all over the place.
Yeah.
Eventually, we moved to Mombasa, which is where I completed what I like to call my childhood.
Yeah.
It was one of those experiences where I don't have childhood friends.
Because
I kept hopping around all over the place. But I also have a deep appreciation for all the different types of cultures across the country. So it was good perspective.
Yeah. When you were younger, did you always know what it was you wanted to do? Because that's something I literally was just talking to someone this morning about. The reason I'm able to do what I do, one of, is my early childhood education supported me figuring out what it is I want to do. So by age 12, I knew I was going to go into media, and I knew it was public relations.
Crazy.
By age 12.
How does it feel to be God's favorite child? Because I definitely did not have this privilege.
I wouldn't have, I wouldn't, let me not take all the credits. I had an incredible teacher who literally would walk us through different assessments. So did you know what it was?
No. And my career in general and what I do today is very polymatic, all over the place. And I thought I wanted to be a neurosurgeon.
Okay.
Because of the book.
Okay.
What's the Gifted Hand?
Oh, right. I was like, which book, guys? I didn't get that book. No,
we all wanted to be surgeons.
And it sounds nice.
Ben Carson sounds so wonderful.
Sounds rich.
But I very, very quickly discovered that I don't like seeing blood, and my hands are not the most steady. Even just at rest. I think I started figuring out what I want to do in my late 20s after seeing life.
So at that time, childhood, it was like a neurosurgeon. What were your interests? What could you...
I knew what I was good at by what the school education system told me I was good at, based off of the examinations.
Yeah.
So good at mathematics.
Yeah.
Good at physics. good at like most of the sciences. That's what I was good at.
But not necessarily what you liked.
No, not
Yeah.
that I enjoy.
Yeah.
The way our education system is set up, it's not set up in a way to bring out your intrinsic skills and the things that you're inherently good at. So you end up like over-indexing on examination. And it's very easy to pass exams and not be good at mathematics at all. Because you just cram the formula.
Exactly.
And so in hindsight, all the things I was good at were not because of inherently like I wanted to be a physician. It's like I like solving problems. And those are the only places I was solving problems. I hated history, not because I hate history. Right now I love, like when I go into a new country, I'm going into the museums, I'm like learning about the country. But I hated how history was taught. I hated cramming. I hated like that. So I think when the education system is not set up to support our ambitions and careers from an early age in Kenya.
So now you're in Mombasa. You want to be a neurosurgeon. You're excelling in school, right? What comes next? Do you move to Nairobi for uni afterwards, or do you still stay in Mombasa?
Yeah. So when I finished primary school, high school, and we are selecting courses to do. At that time, and I think many people can attest to this, you're choosing courses based off, again, what the education system tells you should do.
Yeah.
So if you get an A, there's only a very limited number of courses you should do. You should do medicine. You should do engineering. You should do this pilot. You should become a pilot. There's like this limited number of courses you should do. How dare you get an A and do teaching? And yet there are many, many people who are excellent, like got A's in their high school, but could make wonderful teachers and could thrive as teachers, right?
I think it's even worse that you're called for a certain...
Yeah, you've been told.
You're not consulted just based on your grades. Come for this. I'm always like, that system is a bit weird, guys, right?
I knew I was going to do one of those things. When we were selecting our university courses in high school, I was at home. It was just right after post-election violence. And my father had refused to let us go to school. So I was delayed by like a month and a half. By the time I got to school, the teachers had selected for me.
And what had they picked?
Like biotechnology.
Oh my goodness.
So I was called to do biotechnology. But I think at least I knew then that I wanted to do something that was challenging in a way. And I thought aeronautical engineering sounded challenging. Just by the name, it was fancy, it was nice. So I was like looking around for aeronautical engineering courses. That time there was no engineering degree for aeronautical engineering. So the closest one was mechatronic engineering. That's where I ended up.
So it sounds so difficult. So you did what?
Mechatronic engineering.
What? Why does that sound so difficult?
Well,
was it?
It was. It is a combination of mechanical, electronic, and software engineering.
Okay. Did you enjoy it?
Absolutely not.
And did you stick it through?
I finished. I graduated. My degree is still in school.
You didn't even take it?
No. 12 years later, 13 years later, I can't remember.
What didn't you like about it?
I didn't enjoy the work. When we did our first internship, which is like a third year, the options back then, and again, this is all about like a mindset, like what I thought was possible back then and what I thought I could practice back then. We had very limited options presented to us and very limited options that my mind was open to. So it's that you go and work in a factory, which very few factories in Kenya are ready for mechatronic engineers. So you either end up in a factory working as a mechanical engineer or an electrical engineer or a software engineer or all three just for vibes because they want to save money.
Yeah.
Or you'll end up in the banking sector. So you end up like the PwCs, the KPMGs, or banks, or just generally banks.
And that's like high stress.
And yes. And then the other sector that many people ended up in is like very startup-y type sector. And there we knew you're not going to make money.
Yeah.
We just knew you were going to like try and invent things. Yeah. But not going to make money. So I didn't enjoy it. I did my internships at Bamburi Cement, at Pwani Oil, at Kenya Power. I just never enjoyed the work. And so I knew very quickly I didn't want to do that. It was exciting in the first week where I'm like, machines.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like, how do they work? I understand how it works. I change a few bearings. And then it gets old very quickly.
So after your internship, you realize this is not the field you want to work in.
This is not for me. It was very repetitive, very like every single day looked exactly the same.
Yeah.
The problems you're solving are going to be the same. So I was just like, I can't
Yeah.
do it here. In fact, when my dad had a friend who worked at another factory,
Yeah.
and he had connected me to go for an interview there.
Yeah.
When I went for an interview, at the end of the interview, he called my dad and he told him, please tell your daughter to stop telling people that she doesn't like repetitive work. Because in the interview, I said I don't like repetitive work. Like, I like problem solving. It's like, tell her to stop saying that, because like she won't land any job in any factory.
Because it is
It is
repetitive.
very repetitive.
They're probably like, why are you at this interview, sister? You know, how do you figure out what it is you want to try and do next? Like, what did that look like? Because I feel like very many people have that often in their lives.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's an after uni thing. It happens even 10 years into a
Yeah,
career,
Still
right?
happening
Yeah.
even now. I think I remember sitting down with myself and asking myself, how do I want to feel at the end of my workday?
That's
Most
such a
re-
good question. Oh my God. Like, the more I'm thinking about it, I'm just like, that is such a good place to start. Okay.
Because I think depending on like how you want to feel, there are so many different types of jobs you could do. Like, you could do either manual labor, which is like you want to feel physically exerted at the end of the workday, or you could do like, I want to feel like mentally challenged at the end of the day. Like, I want to feel like I've made an impact in someone's life. I want to feel like and at that time I wasn't as introspective.
Yeah.
So I remember just saying, I want to feel like I have changed people's lives.
Oof. That's a good one.
And in my
Definitely not going to be at a repetitive factory job. Okay.
in my young mind back then, that meant working for a nonprofit. And again, like, these are the things that like are evolving and changing as I grew up and learn more. But like, nonprofit is where I want to be. And so I was like, I haven't graduated yet. I have no papers. The UN will make you jump through hoops before you get any sort of internship. I'm going to start my own nonprofit.
Good.
And then I'm going to work at a nonprofit.
Yeah. Create the solution to your own problem. Yeah.
So me and three of my friends, two other friends, so were three of us, we started this company. It's a nonprofit called Kids Comp Camp.
Okay.
And the goal was to look for kids who are in marginalized communities and teach them how to code. Because we're all like in engineering fields, IT, whatever. We're like, let's teach them how to code. And we started in one school in Masi, which is a small town in Eastern. And we trained, maybe the first camp was like 30 kids, 2 teachers, like very small back then. And that ended up blowing up to like being funded by Microsoft, being funded by like, all these like big brands, partnering with GE. And after maybe 2 years of doing this, I remember again feeling like, I think I have done the thing. This is no longer interesting for me.
And isn't it normal to feel that way?
Yeah.
I think we always fight that feeling because we come into jobs or your source of income with a scarcity survival energy, right?
Yeah.
And so when you start feeling like, I'm not liking this thing, you guilt yourself to be like, what do you mean? Like, this is where you're getting your bread and butter. Like, you know what I mean?
And the sunken cost fallacy is real, because you're like, I've invested so much time, so much relationships have been built, partnerships have been built, my face and the brand work synonymous.
And it's working. Like,
it's
working.
So why are you feeling like this?
Yeah.
But I stepped down from my position. Kids Come Camp still exists to date. But I am no longer involved in Kids Come Camp. And I remember feeling like I want to do something bigger. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what it means, but just something bigger.
So did you ask yourself the question again, or what?
No.
Okay.
At that point, I knew the feeling.
Okay.
I knew the feeling, which is like satisfied, fulfilled. Like I've changed someone's life, and I can like tangibly put a number to that, right? So I knew the feeling. I now was looking for like scale or size. So I finished uni, graduated, and then I did a couple of odd jobs here there. I've always been teaching in one way or the other. Like I remember I even taught some kids. I used to tutor.
Yeah.
Like I've been teaching in some way, form or the other. And then I landed upon this company called McKinsey. And McKinsey was interesting to me because it combined both like the no day is the same, problem solving mindset, scale. It was like very fascinating to me. And I just, for the first time, had the word management consulting.
Okay.
And I first of all, I asked myself, why is this not an option we are presented anywhere in life? Because McKinsey had just opened an office in Nairobi, and so they were just starting to hire. I said, what is this company? And then, thankfully, they were starting a non-profit company called McKinsey Social Initiative, which combined both the things that like are important to me and the things that I look for, seek out.
Yeah.
So I was the second employee at McKinsey Social Initiative.
002.
002.
Yeah.
And we built this program called Generation from the ground up from that time.
Does this feeling of wanting more come again?
Very quickly after. This is the story of my life.
Really? How soon after? Like,
I'd say, so when I started working at McKinsey, I was, McKinsey Social, I was program coordinator.
okay.
My entire job description was to figure out how to launch a program and scale it across the country. And then I would like partner with like business, some companies and businesses to keep the program running. So that was the entire job description. So a lot of my day was social. So I was spending time like talking, like figuring out operations, like figuring out like how to get people into the classrooms, etc. After a year, so one thing about me is that my brain is split into two. I have a very like social side to me, but a very, very analytical side to me as well. And I really enjoy numbers. I enjoy and which I'll lead up to like the Career Whisperer and why I started the Career Whisperer. I really enjoy like working with numbers closely. So at this point, I had not exercised or practiced engineering at all. I had not worked with numbers like as closely, and my company was hiring for a data coordinator, like a data analyst type role.
This is so interesting because it's like a complete shift.
In fact, when I applied, my manager told me, Ngasha, I have never ever seen you open an Excel sheet before. and I was like, no, I really want. It's interesting to me. I want to do it.
Yeah.
And this is like another thing I teach people is the easiest way to pivot is internally. It's the easiest place to pivot. If you want to change careers, moving to another company is much. There's no company that I would have hired me.
Yeah.
Program coordinator experience.
Exactly.
Not happen.
Exactly.
But I was like, I want to do it. I failed the first interview. It was a technical interview. It was an Excel interview. I failed it. I went back. I was like, give me one more chance. If I fail this time, I'll give up this ambition.
Yeah.
And then I spent like several days just like deep diving into Excel formulas and like whatever. And then I did the interview again.
Yeah.
And then I passed the interview.
Wow.
That's how I ended up pivoting to the data coordinator role.
Within the same company.
Within the same company.
And so it allowed you to explore data and touch numbers and it's a lot less social, it sounds.
A lot less social.
Yeah.
A lot less social. The beauty of numbers is numbers scale very, very fast. So like if you're doing data analysis, you can very quickly move from impacting, like working with like the Kenyan branch to doing analysis for the world. So that's what I did. So I was like, I spent 1 year self-teaching data. I did every course, every online program. I like self-taught data. I invested all my weekends in like learning how to do analysis, how to like work with all the tools that exist, visualization tools, analytics. At the end of that year, I said to my manager, I want to do this for the USA now. I want to do this for Spain now because we were in multiple countries and they didn't have a data analyst in those countries. And so I just like did it in a lot of other countries as well.
I'm picking so many tips. I think like the first is that this feeling of wanting more is normal. And it's an uncomfortable feeling. So once you feel that discomfort, it's normal. You shouldn't suppress it. You should unpack like what's there. I'm loving the tip of like, if you want to pivot career-wise, try it internally first, right?
Yeah.
But there's also this speaking up for yourself that's happening that I don't know very many people who do that.
Yeah, I learned this from my manager back then. And the first thing she told me when we met, like when we were having this relationship, she said to me, your career, like you tell me what you want. I will help you get there. And she told me, I don't have the time in the day to think about what you want. And that really stuck with me. Because managers generally don't have time to think about what you want.
Yeah.
Like nobody is there sitting and stressing about like, how can I make the person in my team. No,
Yeah.
you have to think about what you want.
And that's not their
It's
job
not their job.
description. Yeah.
They are chasing their own promotion.
Yeah.
They're not just stuck there being your manager forever.
Yeah.
So they are spending their day doing their day job and stressing about their own promotion. The only person who can stress about your promotion is you. So when she told me that, it really like resonated. I was like, oh, okay. And since then, like my career still today is I am the one who leads and drives my career. And I tell my manager and I tell my company what I want to do, where I want to go, what I'm hoping for, instead of like waiting for them to like craft roles for me or like, even like give me that raise.
Yeah.
Nobody's stressing about your life. Like,
And it's not personal. It's just the lay of the land, right?
Just the lay of the land.
Yeah. And so you do this for different countries, US, Spain, you're getting your fill of numbers.
Yeah.
I know I sound like a broken record now,
No.
but does that feeling come back?
Yes.
After how long this time?
I think I did data for 2 years, 1 year in Kenya and 1 year in global. So
Okay.
it was 2 years before I felt like I needed to pivot again. But that feeling is like, especially, and I think for most people, it happens, they ignore it. It's very normal to feel like that. Even when you've been living in your house for, after 1 year, your apartment starts looking. So I think after 2 years, that's when I did my next pivot. At this point, I think the main pivot I made was moving from being an independent contributor. And this is a big thing that people need to figure out.
Okay.
What type of career are they in? Because there's two big ones. You're either an independent contributor and your career grows as an independent contributor, meaning you'll never manage teams. And the career progression is agnostic to managing teams.
Okay.
So you can move from being a junior analyst to being a senior analyst to being without ever managing teams. Or you can be those career types that are agnostic of managing people, and you can keep growing until you become an expert. Or you can be in a career that is very people centric, and so for you to grow, you need to manage people, and you manage people more. And so the more people you manage, the more senior you become. And I felt like I had been an independent contributor for a while now, and I wanted to learn the skill of managing people. That was the next pivot that I made after 2 years.
Still internally?
Still internally. I spent 4 years at McKinsey Social. It's the longest I've ever spent in any company.
Wow.
To date.
But this is interesting that you spent that time, but you were not doing the same thing. And you were just, but you were also smart about it because you're gathering all of these different skills.
Yeah.
So that when you leave, if you still choose to apply for another job, there's so much you've done. Yeah.
And this is another tip for people who are young in their careers.
Yeah.
When you're very early in your career, chase skills. The money will come. The money will follow. In the first 5 years of your career, chase skills, because those skills are monetizable. And they're monetizable later down the line. And so like I think that was my head was at that point of, I want to learn as much as possible. And when I finally felt like I have learned as much as possible, actually, when I was leaving McKinsey Social, I said, I'm feeling like a sponge now. Because now I'm giving. Like, I've learned now everything. And now, like, people are just using me for, like, how did you do it here? How did you do it here? I knew it was time to leave.
Yeah. So where do you go to after you leave?
I went to a startup.
Okay.
So I remember wondering, because McKinsey Social is a non-profit, but it has like rich parents. It's like
it's a comfortable,
it's a startup, comfortable startup. And the non-profit space is interesting because impact in the non-profit space and how it's measured and spending so much time in data and in impact really brought that forward. Like what non-profit organizations, especially the funders, care about, to me, wasn't the impact I was chasing. So like the impact was often like, how many people have you trained, or like how many people have gone through this program, and that's in itself is not enough to me. It's important to be able to impact many people in a short period of time, but what's important to me is longevity, sustainability. And so we never used to measure that, or not well.
Yeah, because it's impact, you just attended the class, or what has this done for you? Like what's going on afterwards, right?
And maybe you measure immediate impact, which is like right after the program, she got a job, right after the program. But like Did they stay in the job? Did that actually change their livelihood like later down the line?
Yeah.
And I think the nonprofit space is struggling with that. Like there is some progress being made, but struggling a lot with or lack of interest or like lack of like incentives to measure that after. So I was like, I think the people who will care about the after are the for-profit guys. Like, because it's their bread and butter.
They get it.
They get it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just see what it's like in the for-profit space. So when I went to a startup, I worked for Safe Border right after McKinsey in 2020.
Yeah.
COVID year.
Oh my God.
January. I left my cushy job.
And then Uhuru goes there much to tell you case 001 in Kenya.
We are shut down.
I'm just feeling so much anxiety for you. It's like I've been taken back to that moment. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
January, you joined.
2020, I joined Safe Border.
Yeah.
At that time, I was head of growth.
Yeah.
Growth sort of like brings together measurement of impact, figuring out how to grow, figuring out how this company can scale.
Yeah.
And you need all the skills I learned in McKinsey to do that. So I joined Safe Border. I started the first 2 months, I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I joined this role that was new to me. Startup world was new to me.
Yeah.
Working mostly in Africa was new to me. I was confused.
Yeah.
For the first 10 months.
Yeah.
Figuring out what I'm doing.
And then
COVID shut down. And you know what followed shutdown?
Yeah.
Layoffs.
Oh.
I remember when the layoffs were happening, I was certain we were two heads of growth. Safe Border had two business lines. So they had Safe Border Food and Safe Border Rides. And I was head of growth for food delivery. And there was another head of growth for rides who had been there for a while.
Yeah.
Very good friend of mine. And he seemed, and this is the other thing about women and the perceptions we have in the market.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, man, the man just seems a lot more qualified for the job than you are. And so when they're doing layoffs, they had told us they didn't lay off one head of growth. And I was certain that it was going to be me.
Oh, God.
Shock on me. I was, in fact, given more work in COVID.
Yeah.
So I ended up being like, my role expanded so much because you have very few people. And I, for the first time, like learned how to run a startup, because you're given a whole business unit to figure out P&L, how you will make money, how you will grow, how you'll become profitable, how you'll get customers, how you will retain those customers, like end to end.
That is a lot.
It was a boot camp. It was a 1-year boot camp.
During a pandemic.
While people were making pancakes and
banana
bread, I was laboring.
Yeah.
Laboring. And this is a time in my career that I like to call investment years. You always have years where you're investing and years where you're reaping. You shouldn't always be laboring. You shouldn't just be laboring and laboring and laboring forever, because then that's not sustainable. But there should be, for you to grow, and if you think about it as curves, you always have some time where you're growing. For you to grow, you need to invest.
Yeah.
You invest time, you invest energy, you invest effort.
Skill, yeah.
Invest skill. And here you're being stretched.
Yeah.
You know your investment in an investment year when you're being stretched. But then after that investment year, you should reap. If you're still investing
and we're not seeing,
and you're not reaping, something needs to change.
True.
Yeah.
So true. I saw it with my own career of feeling like I worked in radio for 10 years. When I pivoted and moved to business, I could feel that I was reaping for the first couple of years. And then now I'm investing because I'm like, okay, that investment has taken me as far as it could.
Yeah.
Now we need to
go back.
And so now I feel the stretching.
Yeah.
But I keep telling myself, remember how even those 10 years felt? We're going to feel lighter soon.
Yeah.
You know?
And it should feel lighter soon. And if it doesn't, this is the time to like strategize.
Yeah.
Something is wrong. Either the company you're in is wrong, the manager you have is wrong, the field you're in is wrong. Like if you're feeling like you're constantly investing for years and years and years and not reaping, something is wrong. But so I have all this like investment years logged. But like you said, like this should be followed by a season of rest.
Yeah.
Where now you're just the expert.
Yeah.
You're the one who knows what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's
ease.
There's ease.
But it's backed by a lot of work you put in.
Backed by work. So 2020 for me, 2020 and early 2021, crazy investment years. I remember now feeling at Safe Buddha that this is not going to bear fruit here. Because the company was struggling. COVID was a hard year for Safe Buddha. And Uganda, which was the biggest business, Museveni.
They shut down. People were stranded in Shad.
Shut down.
Yeah.
For over like 9 months.
Even the schools were closed for a long time.
Buddhas were banned. Banned. So there was like, we went from 1 million rides a week to 0.
Overnight.
We looked at those like graphs. You're like, what is happening?
Nothing can prepare you to handle that.
Nothing can prepare you for that. And at that time, because it was my first like startup, it's very tempting to make it so personal. It's like our business,
that time you are an employee and you're forgetting.
You are employed.
Yeah.
You are employed.
Yeah.
And the company, what they know how to do best is protect themselves.
Mm.
And so after 1.5 years and the Uganda business is struggling, and while I loved my time at Safe Buddha, I just knew that the future isn't going to look like a place where I will reap and like gain from all the things I've invested. So I chose to leave. So I made another pivot. And I said 4 years is the longest I spent in a company. I was in Safe Buddha 1.5 years. And then I moved to a company called Wave Mobile Money. And here I pivoted to tech.
Oh, wow.
I was now a product manager
Yeah.
at Wave Mobile Money. It's a fintech.
Yeah.
And
this is different.
Very different.
Yeah.
Very, very different. So that was my maybe 4th pivot of my career. Now I was a product manager. I worked with engineers. I worked with like all the business owners, all the market, etc. Wonderful, amazing time I had at Wave. And then shortly after I joined Wave, maybe 1 year in, I lost my dad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And this is like in therapy, I had been told to define this as like a definitive grief season.
Yeah.
Because it did define my career and my life thereafter. Because after I lost my dad, I couldn't work for the first time in a decade. I was very, as you've like, go, chase the next thing, like figure out what. And I just was like stopped in my tracks. I could not work. I tried to go back to work. I was crying in every meeting. I decided I need to take a break. At the same time, the company was going through some changes, and so they wanted to like change my role. They had offered me a different type of role, and this role required me to relocate. And I just didn't have the energy, capacity to like be away from my family, to even be in a new country.
Yeah.
And I just didn't have it in me. So I remember when I told my manager I'm resigning, I'm choosing to exit. He asked me, how much time do you need? I told him, I don't know. I can't give you a time. And so I can't say I'll be back in January.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know.
I'll just take I took a career break. I was with my mom when I made this call, and she was shocked. Yeah, she was like, how are you going to just not stop working and go nowhere? You can't leave one job and go nowhere. And I had not been without employment for a decade. So I just stopped working for an unknown amount of time.
Was this the time that you started crafting the Career Whisperer?
Yeah. How did this work?
First, what is it and
The
how
Career
did
Whisperer.
it? Yeah.
The Career Whisperer was born from grief. Let me just like say that. I was grieving and I felt like I needed to figure out a way to honor my dad in some way. And one thing he had told me when he was really sick, he had been sick before 2016, and then he recovered, and then he became sick again in 2021. But in 2016, I remember he told me he was in hospital, and he said, I have all this money that I have acquired over time. What is it doing for me now? It's like I am in bed. I am bedridden. I am surrounded by doctors all the time. Nothing is working. He had been admitted now for like a month, like no improvement. He's like, what is it doing for me now? I wish I had spent more time with my children. And when he passed away, I remembered that. I remember just him saying, all this money that I have been chasing and all this, and he had a thriving career in all like definitions of careers in his time. It's like, what is it doing for me now? And I asked myself that same question. Okay, I have chased. I have, as you have, like my career story is chasing. I have chased. I have learned. I have grown. I have
Invested.
I have invested. I have unlocked career salary bands that I wanted to. Like I've done the thing. What is it doing for me now? And that question really, really rang with me for a long time. Even as I was going through this career break, it ended up being a 6-month career break. In the third month of my career break, second month, I'd like to say, I remember having a moment where I thought, you know what? Let me first think about my and then what? Because that was the same question my dad was asking. And then what? Okay, you become, because when you think about your career, when you think about like, what do you want to do next?
Yeah.
You think, you know what? I'm going to start a podcast.
Yeah.
And then what? Oh, and then I'm going to like become like the biggest podcast in Africa. And then what? And then I'm going to, you know, like earn a lot of money. And then what? And that I wanted to get to the end of that question.
Yeah.
And then what?
Yeah.
And then I'll retire. And then what?
Yeah.
And then I'll build my one. I didn't get the end of that question. And my and then what? Like at the end was, and then I will have freedom. Freedom to spend time with my family, live my life the way I want to live it. I want to be there for my kids. I want to be a present mom. And I wrote all these things down. So these are like my and then what's. I want to be a present mom. And that is a little bit a decision that like I will take a 6-month maternity leave, whether my company gives it to me or not. Like, because that's my and then what. Or I will seek out companies that will like allow. It was like I want to be able to have time and to take a break when I want without it jeopardizing my career. I want, and I wrote all these things down. One of the and then what's there was, and then I want to be able to share all this knowledge with people, women, Black women in Africa, because I as a woman, that's the experience that I can speak to.
Yeah.
But there's a very clear. I have been working in mostly male-dominated roles, fields. There's one time, oh my gosh, this is important. There's one time when I was still working at McKinsey Social. We were in a meeting room. We were all what was the titles then? We were like management meeting. We are all the same level of people. And one of my peers looks to me and said, "So you get us tea?" And I was like, "Why?" First of all, we have a tea lady. Like we have somebody we've hired specifically to be bringing us
but
tea.
even then, why me?
You looked at this whole table and you were like, "So you get us tea?"
Yeah.
Because I was the only woman on that table. And it's employee number 2. The employee number 1 was earning 3 times my salary.
And employee number 1 was a man.
A man. And I could write books about my experience in leadership, in careers, as a woman, as a Black woman. Because this, in just being a woman, even if the men are Black, there's something.
Yeah.
Then I ended up working with a lot of white men and white-dominated industries. And the disparity was massive between men and women. And then I ended up interviewing dozens of people over time and just seeing that difference between how women interview versus how men interview. Even at McKinsey Social, one of the missions was to figure out how to use education to make better employees. And so getting to understand what all the employers are looking for in employees, what it is that they're checking for in CVs, what they're looking for in interviews. And this huge difference between men and women, and the employment rates for men and women are very different. But not because men are better than women, just men navigate better than women. And so I knew, like, I wanted to like teach people all the things I've learned.
Yeah.
And I was like, why am I waiting to do any of my and then what's?
Yeah.
I need to find the shortest path to getting to where I want my and then what is. Why can't I do it now? Moment.
What am I waiting for?
I have learned for 10 years. I have things to share. So the Career Whisperer was born from a place of grief, a place of figuring out my and then what, and a place of asking myself, why do I have to wait to do my and then what?
And how does the Career Whisperer work? What is it and how how does it work?
The Career Whisperer. Our tagline is whispering career secret tips.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
my personal mission is to give Africans, specifically women, the right mindsets, behaviors, and skills, tactical skills, to be able to navigate the career world successfully. And so that looks like either coaching or masterclasses. I do a bunch of masterclasses or talks like this. I share a lot of this on social media as well. And the goal is just to impart this knowledge to as many people as possible. But I have very, very strong feelings about what I want to impact. Mindsets, behaviors, and skills. And not just skills or like do like CV reviews for people or something like that.
I know I have one last question specific to the person listening to this, but before we get there, you've mentioned the talk. What are some of the things when it comes to mindset, behavior, and skills that you're going to be touching on during the wellness talk?
I think if you think about, at least when I think about the biggest barriers, and this is from both my experience and my experience like in my career, hiring people and working with employers looking to hire people. The biggest difference between what differentiates a low performing employee and a high performing employee. One of the biggest ones is the belief systems that they have. This is something that we're going to tackle a lot in the talk, which is like, what are the belief systems that you have that are limiting you today? What belief systems do you need to embrace to be able to? That's the foundation. Let me tell you, I can teach you anything. But if you have the wrong belief systems, that's the basic foundation. We're going to start there. And spoiler alert, a lot of these mindsets you're not very aware of that you're doing or you're having but the mindsets is like the foundation. So
and they're coming up. They're limiting you.
They're
whether you know they're there or not.
Whether you want to believe it or not,
they
are limiting you.
Yeah.
And one big one in Africa is jobs are scarce. I have barely leave this job and jobs are scarce. That is one big one in Africa, and it's very unique to Africa because of the way everything is set up, like colonization, our education system, all that good stuff. So we're going to be doing mindsets. I won't give you all the tips, obviously, but mindsets are going to be a big one. If you think about behaviors, once you have the right mindsets, you need to practice those mindsets. So if you have a mindset that's limiting you, it's the very basic thing. For example, jobs are scarce. What behaviors will that lead to? You won't apply for jobs. You won't job hop. You will never ever leave your employer. Once you get a job, it feels like it's the end all do all because you believe jobs are scarce. It also changes how you behave in the workspace. You don't want to like you don't
ruffle
feathers. You're just there doing a job because of that fundamental belief system, right? So those behaviors we'll tackle. What are those behaviors? And there are many behaviors and like that are coming out of these mindsets. And then once we have established the behaviors, then we'll tackle the skills. And I often want to do skills last because people will come to me and say, teach me how to negotiate. Negotiation doesn't start with what you say. It's not just like when you're in the interview, say A.
It starts with your mindset,
which has affected your behavior so far, which has then led to you, the skills you have or you will acquire, matter or not matter. It'll make that difference. So we will then tackle skills. We will teach some skills. We will tackle like how to build a personal brand, LinkedIn revamps, CV revamps. We'll do all this good stuff when it comes to skills, interviewing and negotiation and how to get a promotion and all that good stuff. But the skills last. So we'll do mindsets, behaviors, and then skills.
I love that. Because I was literally thinking about how women, the data shows that women tend not to be as strong or loud or confident when it comes to salary negotiations. And I've always kind of like wondered, where is that from? But when you break it down to mindsets, behavior, and then the actual skills, it makes sense because a part of you knows you need more money.
Exactly.
But then does another part of you think you don't deserve more money? And so maybe that's playing into how you're arriving even at that negotiation,
Exactly.
if at all you ask for it.
Exactly. And a part of you actually also believes, this is the limiting belief, you believe that if you negotiate too hard, you will lose the offer.
And jobs are scarce.
All
This
full
is
circle.
so interesting. I've never thought about it like that. I've actually never thought about it. So this is quite interesting. What, to somebody who's thinking of coming for the wellness talk, what do you think they're going to walk away with?
I think you're going to walk away with a renewed perspective on your career. And ideally, you walk away with new behaviors and acquire new skills.
Mhm.
So my personal mission is to change your perspective on careers. And I will do that with as much data as I can. I will give you hard facts and not motivational talks, but to just show you that like the belief systems you have are actually just a ceiling you've put over your head. It's a glass ceiling. And that's the primary thing you will walk away with. And then hopefully, following that, we will give you the right behavior and the right skills that you need to be able to successfully apply for jobs, interview for jobs, and then once you're in the job, grow your career.
Because it's not just getting in.
It's
Yeah.
not either. Paul always asks me this question: should you job hop or should you invest in the same company? It's not either or. It's and. You need to job hop and grow internally. You need both to build a successful career.
Which is from your experience.
Yeah.
Like you did both actually, right? Okay, and the final part, like as we wind up, there's someone listening there's the anxiety around getting a job. Maybe they revamped their LinkedIn, or maybe they're sitting in the discomfort of wanting to pivot in their career. And so I always like to leave people with the next smallest step. So they've heard you today. What is the next smallest step they can take that you think will positively impact their career, whether they're just at the beginning, whether they're thinking of pivoting?
If you're looking to pivot, I think before you even, because the reason why you want to pivot is more important than the pivoting itself. So you're either pivoting because the underlying reason is either you're looking for more money or you're looking for happiness. You're looking for like a better work environment, a better manager, or you're looking for a company with a better mission fit or whatnot. Or you're looking to relocate. What's the underlying reason you want to pivot? The next step is for you to figure that out. Because that will really dramatically change your behaviors thereafter. Many people are looking to pivot to go and grow because that company over there, they offer growth opportunities. Growth opportunities are not necessarily company agnostic. They're individual. You'll go there and stagnate there. So you're looking to pivot to go grow because you're looking for a place that will offer you growth opportunities, but you don't know how to grow. And so you need to ask yourself that. Is the problem me? Am I the one who needs to pivot myself?
What's the mindset I could be? Yeah.
Or is it generally like I have done all the things? It's the company. But many times we point to the company, often and never at ourselves. So start by understanding why it is you want to pivot. Just start there.
Okay.
Is it because of, are you looking for growth opportunities? Money? Better growth opportunities? Are you looking for like better culture? Answer that question. Because then come to our session with the answer and then we will challenge that belief. Why do you believe that you can't grow here? Why do you believe that you can't get more money here? Why do you believe? And I don't say that to keep you in the company you're in. I say that so that you can get the right, because when you go to that other company, you just take the same yourself.
It'll be a matter of time.
Exactly. It's like a relationship.
Yeah.
A relationship.
We're not healing.
You
have not got therapy.
You got therapy. You're going to that other relationship. You're going to be toxic there. So you need to first understand what's going on with you. And we rarely do this with careers. We are now starting to do this with like relationships, with our mind, with therapy. We don't do this with careers, and it's the same thing. If you don't fix whatever is underlying in the core, it will keep recurring for the rest of your career. If you're starting out, one question I like to ask my newbie clients is, the career you're in now, or like the career you've chosen to go into, how did you choose it? Write that journey down. Write down. I went to university. I did biotechnology. And therefore, I believe the only careers I can pursue are biotechnology. Or I really like people, and therefore I'm pursuing careers in people. Or I am really good at numbers, and I want you to write down why the career you're looking to go into. Why? How did you get there? That will be our foundation for our session, because what we'll go into is we'll teach you how to identify the right career for you and how to get you into that career before you make the mistakes we made. We ended up in careers because we were told to go there, or courses where we were called to be there.
Yeah.
It's the first job we got.
Yeah.
And now we're in marketing.
Got a job.
Now we're in marketing.
Yeah.
We first started a job in marketing. We are 10 years in marketing.
Yeah.
That's where we started. So I'd say write down how you got to that decision of this is what the career I want to pursue.
This has been so incredible. And so first I have to say thank you, because just from this conversation, there's so many tips and things that have made sense. And I love how you break down the mindset, behavior, and skills. We never think about our careers in that sense. And culturally, as African women, there are very many harmful mindsets that we've been socialized to have that are limiting our careers, or even what career that we go into to begin with, right?
Yeah.
And so I can't wait for this talk, because I'm already just like, oh my goodness.
How much time do we have?
You're whispering quite loudly. So if you're listening to this, if you're watching this on the 26th of April, we have the Career Whisperer who's going to be sharing all of this key insights with you and literally helping you unlock career success through figuring out your mindset, behavior, and then skills. And tickets are 1,000 bob. In the show notes, in the caption, there's a link. Grab your ticket, share it with your girlfriends. This is the year. We started January saying this is the year as African women. We are going to do what we can to meet our best selves. And honestly, at Legally Clueless, we're just trying to make sure that we do our part in helping you do that. So see you on the 26th. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.